Mercury stations retrograde in Capricorn on Thursday, December 29th. In case you thought Mars being retrograde wasn't complicated enough, now the planet that rules Mars will be retrograde at the same time. Confusion times double. Mars rules action, Mercury rules communication, transportation, tech. So you may feel paralyzed, confused, uncertain, and lack clarity for quite some time. This is the best time to press the reset button. It's early in the year and you are taking it in slowly. It's a slow, very slow start to the year. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. To work with me, check out the links down below. You can get a 2023 personalized reading and find out what all of these new unique transits, including Pluto and Aquarius, mean for you. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I really appreciate any interactions I have with you guys. And it helps algorithm show my videos to more people. It helps my channel grow, encourages me to be here and bring more videos your way. If you like my work and you would like to support me, you now have the option to join my channel and become one of the subscribers. There is a join button down there. And if you are worried about Mercury being retrograde and all of this uncertainty affecting you, if you know that it tends to affect you a lot, I have created candles when Mercury was in Virgo back in October. So you have a chance to buy one of those candles or oil. There's also oils that have properties of strong, exalted Mercury in Virgo to help you deal with confusion and difficulty. I have personally lit up the candle a bunch of times already when Mercury was in more complicated aspects and situations. So link down there. This retrograde begins on December 29th at 24 degrees Capricorn and it lasts until January 18th. So we move from 24 Capricorn to 8 Capricorn. So if you have any planets between 8 degrees and 24 degrees of Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra, this might affect you even more because this is a retrograde in the cardinal sign of Capricorn. The shadow period started on December 12th, so we are already in this more shadow, confusing, complicated zone. Things that you are dealing with right now with Mercury going direct will need to be rethought during the retrograde. And like I said, the more complicated period of the retrograde starts on the 29th and lasts until the 12th, purely because both Mercury and Mars are retrograde. And after the 12th, Mars will station direct and things might start to turn around. So this is Mercury retrograde is the transit that many of us know intimately, and it might even be one of your first introductions into astrology. And please share with me below, how long have you known about Mercury retrograde? How long have you used it as your scapegoat and blamed a lot of your problems on Mercury retrograde? Personally, I really love Mercury retrograde periods because it's an opportunity. It's like the universe gives you a red light. It says, stay here, don't rush, it's not the time. So who am I to disagree with the universe? So definitely take it easy. Take it easy, work on communication, work on writing. Maybe a good time to hunker down and, redo, rethink, rewrite some of the things. Like you have a website, go in, take another look at it. You have a business strategy, take a look at it, pull some numbers, analyze things. Focus on self-care, right? With Mars and Mercury both being retrograde, lean into Venus. Purchase a candle from Anastasia or an oil because those have magical properties. Watch out for miscommunications, right? Like saying things, sending messages to people they're not meant to go to. Watch out for packages not being delivered on time. allow extra time, even in late December, allow extra time for things to come your way, and for transportation, for any travel. Leave your house a few hours early, get the package a few days early if you can. Retrograde proof your apartment, get extra light bulbs, put a hard case on your phone, get batteries, be patient. What's interesting is Mercury conjoins Venus at the beginning of the retrograde on December 29th. So you have this moment of coming together with someone. There's harmony, there's balance, there's understanding. And maybe even part of the retrograde, to me, because it's conjunct Venus, and it's, Venus was retrograde in Capricorn last year. So, and Pluto has been in Capricorn. So Capricorn house has been a big, bright house in your chart for a while. So it's almost, with Pluto about to leave Capricorn, it's almost like this is the final accords of that Capricornian story. And with Mercury conjoining Venus, you have the power to be more creative, more diplomatic, more thoughtful in your speech and in your relationships. And perhaps any issues in the area of Capricorn that you have dealt with at the end of last year, with Venus being retrograde there, you now have the power to kind of put final touches on, to take a closer look, to fix things, right? To let things that need to let things go and bring some new energy, accept things, and bring some like positive energy into the houses, into the Capricorn house. So let's take a look at the rising signs and see where this energy might be the strongest for you. For Aries rising, the retrograde highlights 10th house, and Mars is retrograding in the 3rd house. So we are connecting the house of career to the house of skills, hobbies, writing, and schedule. So with Mars being retrograde in the 10th house, there might be certain professional matters you need to rethink, and they could deal with, they could be connected to schedule, skills, everyday life, the way you handle problems, whether you have the right technology, whether you are organized in the perfect way possible, or maybe things need to be upgraded. There may be certain delays, there may be certain uncertainty about your professional future, like you were promised a raise, but now there isn't money to give you a raise, or the budget hasn't been solidified yet, so you need to be patient. You may need to look back. Sometimes when the frustration comes in the professional sector, we need to either redo old projects, revisit old conversations with bosses. We need to look even back at our past dreams, right? And things that we got into this field for, right? If it's a professional field you're in and you've been sort of going with the motion but not feeling satisfied, what can you do to change things up, right? And because Mars is retrograde in the 3rd house, how can you use your skills and your time better so that your gifts are highlighted and you're spending less time stressing about things, or maybe fighting with your computer that doesn't work very well. For Taurus rising, there's a retrograde in the 9th house, and Mars is retrograding in the 2nd house. So with Mercury being retrograde in your 9th house, you may be rethinking your beliefs. And it might be literal, it might be your groups, like your church or your spiritual, maybe yoga community, just kind of questioning, where do you belong? What makes you feel supported? What kind of philosophy is your core philosophy? Maybe it's the time to kind of look for some guidance and reach to some teachers with Mercury retrograde in the 9th house. Talking to teachers, sometimes you may have to retake the exams you've already taken before, or put some kind of finishing touches on those exams. Travel matters may be highlighted, you may be going back to the place you once been, you may be returning somewhere, say you decide to go back to school, but you travel to a place that you've already, like you go to school in a different country that you have already visited before on a trip and you fell in love with it. Watch out, of course, for like issues with travel. Double check all of it. Double check your tickets and your visas and everything like that. And with Mars being retrograde in the second house, I think the biggest question is you can be making changes and you can be, getting education or traveling to make more money. But I also think Mars in the second house wants to feel valued. So here to me, it's also like, what makes you feel valued? What kind of belief system, what kind of education matters, what kind of trips make you feel happy and valued? Maybe bringing more of that. And believing, faith, it's the house of faith, but like faith in oneself. What is missing? Like what is preventing you from believing in yourself fully, and what needs to be changed in order to create a better flow between the vision you have of your future and your present. For Gemini risings, Mercury goes retrograde in the 8th house while Mars is retrograding in the 1st. So for many Gemini risings, with Mars being retrograde in the 1st, you could have been rethinking your personal goals and your aspirations, your career choice, your physical body, maybe like needing to take better care of yourself. Now with Mercury being retrograde in the 8th, you get an additional layer of relating with other people and, having debts and agreements with other people. And so with Mercury being retrograde here, you need to transform something. Yes, you're focused on your personal growth, but your personal growth is likely interconnected with other people, right? Like maybe you're a parent and you have a child and you need to have a better agreement with your nanny or better agreement with your career so that you're able to take care of yourself and still be a parent. If, if you are in a relationship, there may be certain conversations you need to have with your partner. There may also be like retrograde in the 8th house. There may be certain like debts you have to pay and deal with like matters related to taxes, inheritance, any kind of like joint investments. My Gemini rising friend is like traveling to see her mom, and her mom is in a, she's in a facility, she's being taken care of. So it's quite likely that like my friend will need to deal with certain like documentation and paperwork and like organizational matters. But I think also like needing to have honest conversations, needing to release certain things you may be holding on too tightly, cleanse yourself, because 8th house is the place of death and healing, but like death could be not an actual death, right? Like it could be connected to letting an old part of you die, letting the need for control die, and maybe being more vulnerable and more open. But yeah, let me know how this shows up, and watch out for making major like investments or purchases during the retrograde from December 29th until January 18th, actually. For Cancer rising, we have Mercury retrograding in the 7th house of relationships, while Mars is retrograde in the 12th house. And you may, as per usual, with Mercury being retrograde in your 7th house, you may hear back from an old flame, or you may think of an old relationship. This might be the time when like an old relationship comes into your peripheral vision, asking you to, sometimes we feel this pull to go for another round, right? And I'm not going to tell you don't do it, but beware that sometimes this pull is only here to bring you closure and to help you see that, to see the issues and to be more kind of confident in the decision you made in the first place. So watch out for dating exes. But if you need to go, go into the same river again, let me know. And also, please keep me posted if you've already heard from any exes. Relationship matters might need to be sorted out, right? There might be certain like confusion, maybe like you need to clear your plans, your schedule with your partner, so you have like a better flow. It could be a business partner, it could be a romantic partner. Because Mars is retrograde in the 12th house, I wonder, like, what kind of self-defeating tendencies do you have? Are you choosing partners who are unavailable, not good for you, and maybe you need to change something, like maybe you need to change your approach. There may be certain contracts you need to renegotiate, certain agreements you need to re-sign or go over. And yeah, like talking about your feelings, expressing your frustration, honestly, being more reflective about your relationship choices could be the topic of this retrograde. For Leo rising, Leo risings are having Mercury retrograde in the 6th house, with Mars being retrograde in the 11th. Mars being retrograde in the 11th for a while may have made you rethink how you approach your future and how you approach friendships, and even, your dreams. Like 11th house deals with hopes and dreams for the future. So whatever it might be, it could be the film you're making, it could be the country that you want to move to, or your new place of living, it could be professional things. Now with Mercury being retrograde in the 6th house, I think there's certain things in your daily life that need to be revisited. Do you have these dreams, but like maybe you're dealing with a health issue that demands attention? Like something you need to look into, right? Like, do you have a dream, but are there still bills you have to pay? So maybe you need to hunker down, you need to clear your space. It could be a lovely time with Mercury retrograde in the 6th house to like open your drawers, look at the old papers, cleanse your space, get rid of stuff, minimize the things that are time wasters. There may be certain professional matters that are confusing, issues with co-workers, projects you need to redo, scheduling matters you need to rethink, routines that you need to upgrade and, iron out, and have like conversations with colleagues and bosses that help you have a better flow. For Virgo rising, Mercury goes retrograde in the 5th house, with Mars being retrograde in the 10th house. So here we have like an energy between the 5th and the 10th. And with Mercury being retrograde in the 5th house, you may be struggling to feel inspired. And, Mars is retrograding in your 10th. So it's like professional inspiration likely. Are you happy? Is there enough joy in your career? And if there isn't, what can you do? And a lot of times Mercury being retrograde is a sign of looking back. So look at what once brought you joy. Look at what was the original motivation for you to get into your career, right? Like maybe you wanted to work with children, but you ended up somehow in an administrative position. And so perhaps it's the time to make adjustments and kind of take a step back to spending more time with children, working more with children. Relationships can be highlighted, right? Like 5th house is the place of sex and flings. So with Mercury being retrograde here, you may have exes come back into your life. And I was just talking about that for Cancer rising. Be careful if you need to go for another round to get more clarity. I wouldn't blame you. I've been there myself, but like, just beware and know that sometimes you are only longing for the feeling, not for the person. Spending more time with kids, reconnecting with kids, getting some kind of clarity when it comes to your child and their life is also possible. But I think overall you're just looking for ways to bring more excitement into your life. And like I said, look back at what brought you joy when you were a kid, or what was your original inspiration, or what is already bringing you joy. What is your like guiding star and something that always makes you happy? Maybe you just need to, raise the volume on that kind of thing. For Libra rising, there's Mercury retrograde in the 4th house, while Mars is retrograding in the 9th. 4th house, Mercury retrograde. Pluto has been in your 4th house forever, since 2008, right? And Pluto is still in your 4th house, but will start to move out of your 4th house next year. If you'd like to know more about it, sign up for my webinar. You can find out what this brings to the collective, and just in general. So what has happened since 2008, what kind of growth you've experienced when it comes to family, what kind of changes to your living situations you've been through, how has your opinion of your childhood changed? So with Mercury being retrograde here, you're likely doing another round and maybe seeing what else needs to be upgraded. Maybe it's your living situation. Maybe there's some kind of matters connected to your home that you are in need of change, right? Like, how long have you lived in your current place of living? Is it time to move back somewhere that you used to live before, or even just make any changes to make your place feel more like your home? Revisiting family dynamics, right? Like taking another closer look at your childhood and your relationship with your family, maybe experiencing some kind of, with Mars being retrograde in the 9th house, like finding a sense of comfort in how much you've accomplished, how far you've come, how much you've grown. But definitely, you know, old issues from like matters connected to home and family can be in for another round. And do your best to reflect and, you know, see yourself as the work in progress. Know that maybe you're not perfect in your response to the situation that is challenging, but you are working on it, and it's likely that you've been through lots and lots of changes and have grown a lot since 2008 until now. You don't have to be perfect, but you can appreciate who you are. For Scorpio risings, Mercury goes retrograde in the 3rd house, with Mars being retrograde in your 8th house. Mercury retrograde in the 3rd can be very literal sometimes, right? Like 3rd house is the place of communication. It's the place of transportation, technology. So with Mercury being retrograde here, you may need to buy a new computer, get your car checked, your engine light checked, right? Like, maybe sometimes you need to rewrite certain documents. You may need to resit certain exams, like redo things that you have thought you have already finished. Having conversations that are old and you've already had and maybe you felt like you're done with, especially with Mars being retrograde in the 8th house, I think you're looking for fairness in relationships, and you may be looking for more clarity, and you may be looking to transform something. So with Mercury being retrograde in the 3rd, you may be transforming old ways of communicating. You may be changing your schedule, your immediate relationships, your immediate involvements, the obstacles to the best schedule you can have. And a lot of it with Mars being in the 8th house involves dealing with other people, talking to other people, clarifying, talking about uncomfortable things, not shying away from them, and, you know, being caring and being honest. Sometimes siblings might be going through an important transformation. Maybe you are there for them. Maybe you are kind of watching them transform and, you know, trying to help them out as much as you can. But letting go of like fears, letting go of outdated relationships and bringing clear communication, I think, should be the topic of this retrograde for Scorpio risings. For Sag rising, Mercury goes retrograde in the 2nd house, with Mars being retrograde in the 7th. So here we're connecting the house of finances values to the house of relationships. And maybe there's changes happening in your relationships. Maybe you got engaged, or maybe you got married, or maybe you got divorced, right? Whatever it might be, there may be certain financial changes that spiral from that, and like matters that need to be cleared up. So dealing with finances, rethinking your budget, rethinking your spendings, rethinking your joint finances with your partner could be a great topic, an important topic right now. Maybe you are consulting an advisor, maybe you're consolidating your investments. I would avoid spending too much right now or making major purchases, because it's quite likely that you will need to revisit them after the retrograde is over, or maybe there's some issues with them. Sometimes Mercury retrogrades in the 2nd house could be like very interesting, because like you may get some money coming your way, like maybe you get it during Mercury direct, and Mercury's retrograde, you have to pay it back, and then Mercury goes direct again and you get the money back again. So just, you know, pay off any debts, take care of your finances ahead of time, and watch out for making big investments. But like having conversations about money, getting more organized about money could be the time, like could be a good time for that. For Capricorn rising, Mercury goes retrograde in the first house and Mars is retrograding in the sixth. So considering that Pluto has been in your first house since 2008, you are completing, or you're really close to completing, a major chapter of personal growth. Not professional, personal. I mean, professional possibly, but it's more personal. So how has your life changed since 2008? Could you say that you are a very different person now than who you were back then? And this is like the final touches, right? Mars is retrograde in the sixth house, so maybe there are certain like matters related to your health you need to adjust, certain like dietary things, start exercising more regularly. Maybe you are upgrading your look, getting a new haircut. You may of course be going through like more important changes when it comes to moving to a different place, starting a new career, becoming a parent, right? Like in kind of changing who you are in a more visible ways or in a more like major kind of ways. But it could also be something more basic, as in like, you know, your skincare needs upgrading or you feel like ready to cut your hair or something like that. Watch out for taking on too much responsibility and like make sure that you allow for a good work-life balance. For Aqua rising, we have Mercury go retrograde in the 12th house with Mars being retrograde in the 5th. And here you are focusing on your spiritual life, on your mental health. Mercury being retrograde in the 12th house could encourage you to spend more time alone, sitting down, meditating, reflecting. There may be a need to let something go. It's, you know, 12th house, the place of losses, the place of kind of endings, the place in which you get squeezed through a birth canal before you're reborn, and the only way out is through. So you have to like sit with things, you have to process them, you have to experience them. So letting something go, looking back at the past, looking at your self-defeating thoughts, your self-defeating actions, habits, patterns, and try to find guidance in spiritual things, right? Like make sure you're leaning onto a yoga practice, meditation practice, people who are spiritual, astrology for support. And Mars being retrograde in the 5th house to me just says that you are being reborn, right? Like 5th house is the place of children too. So maybe you're being reborn and it's not the easiest process, but you are in it and you're committed to it. Finally, for Pisces rising, the retrograde affects 11th house with Mars being retrograde in the 4th house. Mercury retrograde in the 11th sometimes manifests as like a friend going through a tough time, or a friend retrograding, reaching out to you, kind of needing your help, needing your support. I also wonder, with Pluto being in your 11th house for the last 14 years, 2008, math, 14 years, right? It's a long time. So how have your dreams changed? How has your plans for the future or your view of yourself changed? Because with Mercury retrograde here, you may be course correcting. You may be looking at, are you close to your dreams? What needs to be changed? What kind of people you need to reach out? How you need to adjust your role in the community or your role in the life of other people. But basically looking at your future and what needs to be done. And because 11th house is the place of social media and networks, I wonder if there's certain like people you need to reach out, or maybe people reach out to you, and certain adjustments you have to make in order to get closer to what you want to achieve in life. Let me know how this resonates in the comments below, and have a happy new year. This is, Mercury stations retrograde on the 29th, and it's only 2 days away from New Year. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.